I recently gave a university lecture that I titled, "Who is Behind Flat Earth?" It was a bit tongue-in-cheek, but I wanted to share that with you here on YouTube because it has some pretty big implications for YouTube that go beyond flat Earth. Now, my connection with the whole flat Earth thing goes back to 2018 when I made a video titled, "How I Proved the Earth is Round" with my bike and 2 sticks. And after about 3 million views, 40,000 comments, interviews from the media, and a lot of discussions with flat earthers, I have a lot of thoughts on the matter. At the very start of that video, I say that around 1 in 10 Americans believe that the Earth is flat, or at least have their doubts. And I have had hundreds, maybe thousands of comments that that statistic must be wrong. Unfortunately, that is not a made-up statistic. That's from a YouGov poll that asked over 8,000 Americans what they thought about the shape of the world. And in total, 16% of them thought that the world was flat, or they at least had their doubts about it being round. But what's most shocking to me about that data is it goes up for young people, all the way to 34%. 34% of young people aren't sure about the shape of the world. The authors of that study concluded that since a lot of the people that believe the Earth is flat call themselves very religious, it's probably a cause. Religion probably made these people believe in the Earth's flatness. And you can find a lot of anecdotes in the Bible that suggest that the world is flat. But I think that this is an issue of correlation versus causation, which is to say, I don't think religion is the reason that flat Earth has become a big deal in the last 5 years. And it's worth remembering that flat Earth was not a big deal in 2014. It wasn't until 2015 that it really started to take off. This graph is the YouTube search trend for flat Earth from 2008 till now. And as you can see, no one was searching for flat Earth until around 2015. So what happened? To answer that, I think we actually need to look at YouTube as a platform. And remember that YouTube functions on what's called the attention economy. YouTube's #1 goal is to get more people watching more YouTube, specifically watching the ads on YouTube, because that's how it makes money. It is a business. And years ago, they set the goal of reaching 1 billion hours watched every day. That's a goal that they met. 1 billion hours is a really, really long time. For context, 1 billion seconds is 31 years. 1 billion hours is 114,000 years worth of YouTube watching every single day, which is mind-blowing. The reason I bring this up is because it's very easy to understate the impact that YouTube can have on its viewers and on society at large. Of that 1 billion hours every day, over 70% of it are videos that are recommended by YouTube, meaning that YouTube is deciding on 700 million hours of content that people watch every single day. That has a huge impact on what people believe. You may have seen articles like this one in the New York Times that call YouTube the Great Radicalizer. And it is. There's a strong argument to be made that YouTube recommends some pretty wild videos to people. They watch it, and it suggests even more extreme content to them. They keep watching it. It gets more out of control as time goes. An unfortunate example of this is the Tide Pod challenge, when people were eating laundry detergent to get views on YouTube, and YouTube was suggesting those videos to people. I want to bring your attention back to that poll that I showed at the start, because remember, young people are more likely to believe that the Earth is flat than any other demographic. And it's young people more than any other demographic. Young people are watching YouTube. Now, if we look at the search trends for flat Earth on YouTube, you can see that there was no interest in it until about 2015. There were some early videos about the Earth being flat as far back as 2011, but YouTube wasn't recommending that to people. And then around 2014, 2015, some big YouTubers started to bring attention to the flat Earth thing, most notably Michael from Vsauce, which remains the most watched video on flat Earth to this day. In 2015 and 2016, there was a huge explosion in the amount of content about flat Earth that was being put onto YouTube. A lot of those videos and a lot of the comments on those videos are just people attacking one another and making fun of one another, which is something to keep in mind for a moment. By 2017, there's the first Flat Earth conference, and it kind of just goes on from there. Then eventually in 2019, YouTube did a crackdown on what they call borderline content, and they started recommending Flat Earth videos less. And viewership kind of dropped off from there. You might still be wondering, who exactly are these Flat Earthers? Researchers have gone to Flat Earth conferences in order to interview the attendees. And in nearly every case when someone has come around to the belief that the Earth is flat, it was because YouTube recommended them videos about it. They didn't come to it by themselves. They came to it because of YouTube's recommendations. That's huge. It's a bit of a vicious cycle. YouTube recommends a video at the boundary of your beliefs. You're introduced to some new ideas and you have some of your old ideas challenged. You adopt just a few of those notions, and when you talk about them with your friends or when you leave a comment on some other video, people make fun of you. You get ostracized, and then you go seeking a community. And where's your community? Well, it's back at the start. You search out people that have the same views as you, and soon enough, you're recommended even more extreme ideas. And it's worth noting that the alt-right or the far-right uses platforms like YouTube in a very different capacity than people on the political left. They're way more likely to comment on videos, they remember each other's handles, they have more live streams and live chats. It's a completely different way of using YouTube than what I'm used to, and it is also one that fosters a very strong community, for better or for worse. This is something I've experienced firsthand. When I put out my video, I had maybe a half dozen response videos, all from Flat Earthers. Not a single one was from another science channel or educational channel. I sat down with YouTuber Mac Fokker for about an hour and a half and talked with him about Flat Earth for a student documentary that people were making. And something I learned from him is that he interacts with his YouTube community in a completely different way than I do. And remember, YouTube functions by having people watch a lot of content in order to see a lot of ads, and Flat Earthers are making that kind of content. It's super high volume. They're long format live streams. It's kind of a perfect storm. Anyway, I think that the short answer for who is really behind Flat Earth is YouTube. For about 100 years, no one, at least very few people, were talking about the Earth being flat until YouTube started recommending it. The whole reason I wanted to make this video is not because I think it's important that people understand the true shape of the world, but because I think it's important that people understand how misinformation spreads. Around 1 in every 10 Americans say that they believe that the Earth is flat, or that they at least have their doubts that it's round. I'm going to test that. I'm going to test if the Earth is flat or not. And to do that, I actually need to go somewhere where it's super flat. So that's why I'm going to Regina, Saskatchewan in Canada, and I'm going to measure and calculate the size of the Earth using just my bicycle and 2 sticks. This is not a joke. I'm here with Casey at the Saskatchewan Science Centre, and we've got 2 identical sundials set up. Right now, since they're in the same place, the shadows are the same length. But I'm going to be leaving one of them here with you, Casey. You ready?
Let's do it.
Okay. And he is going to set it up on this very spot, right here. And I'm taking the other sundial, and I've strapped it to my bike. And I'm going to bike down that road right there. And that road is the reason that I've come all of the way to Saskatchewan, because that road is perfectly straight for somewhere around 140 kilometers. And I've come to measure that distance on my bike. Okay, so I just zeroed the odometer. Let's get started. Here goes science. Okay. This is Highway 33, and since it's very flat here and there are no mountains to go around or hills to go over, this is one of the longest straight roads in the whole world. And that's why I'm here. Let's pretend that this orange is the Earth. Now, this is the Earth, and these 2 sticks are going to be the 2 sundials we're working with. So I'm going to put them in. Don't try this at home, please. Okay, Since the orange is round, anytime we line up the shadows like this, they will never be the same length. If the shadow on the right is short, we can expect the one on the left to be longer. If they were the same length, then the orange would have to be flat. Now we can also measure the length of the two shadows at the same time and measure the distance between them and figure out the circumference. Since the sun is really far away, we can treat its light as coming in straight lines. And therefore, we can figure out what angle it's hitting both of the sticks at. And that allows us to figure out what angle the two sticks would meet up at in the center of the orange without having to pull the orange apart. Let's say that that angle, this angle here, is 45 degrees. That's 1/8 of a circle. So the distance between the two sticks, this distance here, that is 1/8. That's 1/8 of the circumference around the orange. So we measure that distance, we multiply it by 8, and we know how big the orange, or the earth, is. That's what I'm doing, except instead of these two sticks, we're using sundials, and instead of measuring this with a ruler, I'm measuring it with my bike right now in Saskatchewan. I got the wind at my back, and it is a beautiful day. I'm clocking at 28.8 kilometers an hour. This is just great. Things are awesome. To celebrate the 100-kilometer mark, I'm going to eat the earth. It's pretty good. It shouldn't surprise you that I'm not the first person to do this experiment. A Greek scientist named Eratosthenes did it 2,200 years ago. Except instead of it being in Regina and Stoughton, he used the cities Alexandria and Syene. And those cities were 800 kilometers apart. He didn't have bicycles back then, so he had someone pace the distance between the two cities, which is crazy. And they were 800 kilometers apart. And his measurement and his calculations were so precise that it was still within 1% to 16% of the actual circumference of the Earth. That's incredible. But we don't know exactly what his answer was, because he used a unit called stadia, which was how big a stadium was. And there were different sizes of stadiums, and we don't know what one he meant. So his answer has been lost to the sands of time, but I'm gonna try to redo it with a huge upgrade in technology. We're using a bike. I've biked 138 kilometers today from Regina to reach the first stop sign. It's the end of the road, and it is Stoughton. Okay, so I just set up one sundial in Stoughton, and Casey set up the other one in Regina. We made sure that they were both level and checked that they were both aligned with one another, and everything seems to be good. Okay, I think my math was a tiny bit off because I thought that the measurement was going to take place at 10:59, and it is 11:04, and we're still a few minutes away. So I think it will be more like 11:15, but you know, with this experiment, what matters is that the sundials are lined up with the road and lined up with each other. And I just got off the phone with Casey in Regina, and we are at the exact same point, the exact same angle right now with our sundials. At least this angle is the same. Yeah, I know, a little nerve-wracking, right? We're really close though. Mine is officially on the meter stick. Is yours almost there? Yeah. Okay, so in another, like, maybe we'll say 10 seconds, you can grab your chalk. Your line looks pretty good, right? So this is it, okay. Okay, we'll take the measurements in 3, 2, 1, now. I've got okay, I just measured my shadow, and mine was 66.1 centimeters. And then I called Casey, and his was 70.0 centimeters, which means that our shadows are 3.9 centimeters different. Mine is 3.9 centimeters smaller than his is in Regina, which means that the Earth is a sphere, and it means that I can calculate the size of the Earth. Now, I expect that it won't be exactly accurate, but it's going to be pretty darn close. Oh, that's really rad. Okay, cool. I'm gonna hang up and get packed and get on the road. We now have all of the measurements that we need in order to do the calculations for the circumference of the Earth. So I left Regina on my bike and I cycled all the way to Stoughton. That distance was 138 kilometers. When I got to Stoughton, I set up a sundial that was 100 centimeters high, and I measured the shadow of the sundial at a specific time. The shadow was 66.1 centimeters long. And so we can do some simple math to figure out the angle at which the sun was hitting the top of the sundial. And that turns out to be 56.5 degrees. Now, at the exact same time I was taking that measurement, Casey in Regina was taking another measurement on an identical sundial, and his measurement was 3.9 centimeters longer. He measured a shadow of 70.0 centimeters. And that means that the Earth is a sphere, and we can calculate its circumference. We used the same math to figure out the angle that the sun hit the top of his sundial. That was 55.0 degrees. Since we know the angle that the sun hit both of those sundials, and since the sun is really far away, we can calculate the angle that those two sundials would meet up at if they met in the center of the Earth. We take the angle from Regina and subtract it from the angle in Stoughton, and we get 1.5 degrees. That means that the angle that those meet up at in the center of the Earth is 1.5 degrees, or 1/240th of the circumference of the Earth. And now that we know that the distance we measured is 1/240th of the way around the whole Earth, if we take the distance that I measured, the distance that I biked, and multiply it by 240, we can figure out how big the circumference of the entire world is. When we do that, we end up with 33,120 kilometers. By my calculations, that is the size of the Earth, and it's pretty darn close. The true size of the Earth is 40,075 kilometers, which means that my measurements and calculations are only 17% off. Eratosthenes' measurements and calculations were maybe 16% off. I'm really happy with how that turned out. When Eratosthenes did this experiment over 2,000 years ago, he not only proved that the world is round, but he measured it and proved that it is a knowable thing. The Earth is something we can experiment on and learn about. I'm really happy with how well my experiment turned out, because I have confirmed that the Earth is indeed round, and I measured it to be 33,120 kilometers around. And that's not exactly right, but I mean, my measurement is closer to the Earth than it is to Mars, and I'm pretty happy with that. The reason my measurement isn't 100% accurate is because I didn't manage to line things up perfectly. So we took the measurement about 12 minutes too late, which is enough to make an error of 17%. But still, I'm really, really happy with how well it turned out. I try to do experiments that are almost impossible, that are just at the border of being impossible. And so if they always worked out perfectly 100% of the time, I think I wouldn't be trying things that are hard enough. Sometimes I get asked, how do I make enough money from these videos to fund big science projects like this? And my answer to that is that I don't. I don't even make enough money from this channel to pay for my expenses, let alone my time. But if you want, so that means someone just subscribed to my channel. If you want to support what I do here on this channel, please check out my Patreon page. Every little bit helps, and actually every patron adds a drop in the bucket. Another way you can support me is to subscribe to my channel and like this video. It's not just meaningless internet points, it actually affects the algorithm, which changes how many people will see my science content. So that's huge for me. Lastly, I absolutely need to thank Casey and Ryan and everyone at the Saskatchewan Science Centre for making this whole project possible. It just wouldn't have been possible to measure the Earth without them. So please, if you're in Regina, check out this place. It is amazing. And check out their website. I'll leave a link in the description below. Thank you so much for watching.